My fellow Americans, today is election day, meaning that what we need to do is go and vote for our presidents and all that stuff, but I want to talk about something that's really, really important about voting. First off, I just want to say that if you're going to vote for someone, don't vote for someone because they're your political party. I mean, I know a lot of people do that, and honestly, I think that's not a good idea at all. The reason being is because different political parties have different viewpoints, and I guess if you have the same viewpoints as that's kind of why you're in the political party anyway. But that doesn't give you the free pass to just not look at what the other party has to look for. I mean, if you do the research on the other political party that you are not a part of, then maybe you can figure out some things that they want and what they desire to have, and I don't know, maybe you feel the same way about that. Obviously not everything will be the same way, but at least some of it, you have to do your research. And that's the problem with a lot of people today, is we just don't do our research. And I am, in fact, one of those people, because, I had meant to do a lot of research between Obama and Romney to see which one would be the best presidential candidate and the best president of the United States of America, known as the free world. And I didn't do that. Now, I voted for Romney just simply because, honestly, just because my parents did. But my parents know a lot more of what they want and what Romney and Obama want and everything, because they actually did their research, especially my father. So, I've always known him to be a huge political guy, somewhat, in the sense that he does his research, he knows who wants what and what everyone's looking for, and we just voted on the side of Romney this year. And the problem with it, though, is partly because a lot of views Romney has, such as marijuana and same-sex marriage and just almost trivial things like that, I don't really approve of. I'm not on the same side as him. But when it comes right down to it, those things are important, human equality, just everything just like that, it's all important. Don't get me wrong about that, but when it comes right down to it, what matters the most is what they're going to do, the economic system, the political system, if you will, the educational system. We just have to look at everything. And that's just the way that I see it. If you guys don't do your research, you won't know who to vote for, and you don't know what people want and what they want. And if you don't do the research you're supposed to, then we're going to end up voting for the wrong person. And nothing's worse than having to go through 4 years with somebody you don't want to be president. My grandpa is a huge example of that. I won't use the words that he used because that's not the kind of language I use. So, but let's just say my grandpa is not impressed with Obama. And I'm not going to say why, because obviously you can probably understand. So another thing I want to talk about is how some people think that voting is irrelevant. Like, the human populace, or I wouldn't say human populace, but the United States populace doesn't have to vote, because the electoral vote is all that matters, instead of the popular vote, which is us. Now, for those who don't know, the electoral vote is, if I recall correctly, different states have different points, I guess you can say. As in New York, California has like a lot of points because California is like the most popular, has the most people in it, I guess. I don't really remember how they stack that, but places like California, New York, I believe, Vermont, I believe, Massachusetts, really the first 13 colonies are really important. And then we have like Alaska and Hawaii who have really small votes. And that's why presidential candidates go to California, go to Vermont, go to all the places with the highest amount of points, because if they win that state, then they get a lot of points. And then whoever gets the most stacked points wins the electoral vote. So that's really what the electoral vote is. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'm not the biggest political guy, so. Now, the popular vote is simply the citizens of America who vote. And we have, 300 million people? I mean, cut that in half for 18 and up, I'd say 150 million. So, I'd say a good 150 million probably are going to vote. Of course, you cut out the people who aren't going to vote, probably another 50 million. So, 100 million, therefore, will be voting for whoever, basically. And there's a lot of people who are saying that the popular vote doesn't matter because whoever wins the electoral vote is automatically going to win. And that is true in some circumstances, but I don't think that's true for everything. Of course, I could be wrong, and popular vote really doesn't matter, and we're all just having wool covered over our eyes. But, we're all sheep anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But the one thing I want to talk about is how you should vote. Even if you don't think it matters, you still should vote. Because there's two reasons why people aren't going to vote. One, as I stated before, it doesn't matter. At least that's what they think, and it's probably true. But the number two reason is because people think, oh, well, there's 100 million people who are going to vote. Someone else will just do it for me. One vote won't matter. I'm going to give you an example of how this is the exact same way to what we can think of in our little society. If you remember back in any school, grade school, high school, college, when the professor or teacher asks, the whole class what they think of a question, or ask a question, like, what's 20 times 30, just say. And then, you obviously have the section or amount of people, probably 5 or 10 out of a 30 class, who are going to raise their hand to answer. Those are the people who take the initiative to answer the question because either they know it or they think they know it, and they're going to do their thing. But then there's the other 20 who just sit there and don't raise their hand because either they don't think it matters if they answer it, or they don't care, or they don't know. So they aren't going to answer, they aren't going to be put on the spot. Now, what if the teacher says all the people who have their hands raised right now, the 10 people who took the initiative, the teacher tells them to put their hands down because everyone else is going to answer the question. All the people who didn't take the initiative now hold the power to answer the question and get it right or wrong. So, putting that in mind, what are they going to do? The teacher asks again, what's 20 times 30? The whole 20 people there are going to look at each other hoping that someone else is going to answer the question. Someone else is going to take the initiative, even though we aren't the initiative takers. I can't remember what this is called. I don't remember what study it was or what law. But basically, the more people who don't take the initiative, the more people are going to take the thought that someone else is going to answer the question. So, say if there's 10 people, maybe 2 would actually take the initiative. The other 8 are just going to look at everyone else. Then, if you look at 50, then maybe, 5 would take the second initiative, and the other 45 are just going to look around. Now, if you put that on the scale of 100 million, we're looking at least 1 million, again, at least, are going to look at everyone else and say, you know what, my vote doesn't matter. Actually, no, I'm wrong about that. The 9 million are going to look around and say, my vote doesn't matter. 9 million people are not going to vote because they think that someone else is going to do the voting for them, so therefore their one specific vote will not matter, which accumulates to, as I said before, 9 million. While the other 1 million are just going to vote because they think, well, you know what, fine, if I have to, I will. Then they vote for some random dumbass, which politics is bullshit. I'll tell you that much. I hate politics. Of course, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. Now, one more thing I want to talk about, because this video is getting kind of long, is vote for Obama or Romney. Obama, a Democrat who is thought to be a socialist, and Romney, who is a Republican who is a Mormon. Very different views, very different subjects, and really all we can do is just take a look at it and say, what does Obama want? What does Romney want in the views and subjects of education, politics, of course, economics, whole media actually, there's just so much. There's so much we have to look for, and what's funny is when it comes right down to it, there's so many different views that they balance each other out, 50% of what Obama wants is probably good, and 50% is probably bad. And the same goes for Romney. So therefore, it's really just voting for the lesser of two evils. So, in conclusion, vote. I hope you did your research, and in the next 4 years, when we have to do this all over again, please do your research. I know that I will. At least I will try. Thank you.